Another day, some other fisherman caught some fish from a pond close to his house and came to sell them to him. This time also he purchased all the fish and let them go into the pond. The fisherman was quite astonished at this strange behavior, and no sooner had he got the price of his fish and the basket back than he ran away from this madman as fast as his legs could carry him, and never again in his life crossed the boundary walls of the abode of Nagmahashaya. He was so very strict in following the Ahimsa Dharma that he would not even allow a poisonous snake to be killed. Once a venomous cobra was seen in the courtyard of his house, which alarmed all persons present there. His wife suggested that it should be killed. Nagmahashaya objected, "It is not the snake of the forest that does any harm, but it is a snake that is in the mind that really kills a man." Then he addressed the cobra with folded palms, saying, "Thou art the visible manifestation of the goddess Manasha. Thy abode is the forest. May it please thee to leave my humble cottage and go to thine own dwelling." And strange, the snake also followed him with its hood bent down as he directed it to the jungle. Nagmahashaya often used to say, "The outside world is a projection of our own mind. As you give out to the world, so you receive back from it. It is just like looking into the mirror. The reflection in the mirror exactly shows what faces you make at it." One day he was washing his hands and face in a tank when he was bitten by a snake on the toe of his left foot. Nagmahashaya did not move from his position lest he might disturb the snake. After a moment it left him. When his wife came to know of it, she got nervous, but Nagmahashaya said, "Well, nothing very serious happened. Some water snake mistook my toe for its food, but soon it realized its blunder and left me unhurt." It was his direct perception that the one God resides in the hearts of all creatures. He realized the truth that all live, move, and have their being in him. If he was questioned why he remained with his palms folded, he replied that he perceived his Ishtam everywhere and in every being. It became impossible for him even to tear a leaf from a living plant. For is there not the same God breathing in the plant? We are told of similar experiences of saints who realized oneness with the universe, who felt that the same life principle is vibrating through all, and that even herbs and plants feel pleasure and pain just as we do. None ever saw Nagmahashaya carelessly treating even the minutest worms, as for example mosquitoes, ants, etc. If ants chanced to get up on his body, he would carefully remove them to a safer place. His mind was so worked up that he could not walk lest he should tread upon small insects. Sometimes his breath would stop, lest his respiration should kill the minute organisms that live in the air. Once a devotee of Nagmahashaya while sitting on the veranda of his, found that white ants had eaten up the posts that supported the eastern side of the veranda. He struck at the posts and the poor ants fell down helpless. "Alas, what have you done?" cried Nagmahashaya, moved with pity. "Poor creatures, they found peaceful abode here for a long time. It is very cruel of you to have molested them thus." As he said this, his eyes were filled with tears of kindness. The devotee was stricken with wonder and remorse. Nagmahashaya then approaching the ants said, "Make yourselves comfortable here again. This time you need fear no harm," and helped them to build anthills there. They once more established themselves, and in time the posts gave way. But he would never allow anybody to disturb them. For the cows he had a special reverence from his childhood. In them, as an orthodox Hindu, he found a greater manifestation of the Divine Mother. He would often take the dust of their hoofs. One day he got a piece of sugarcane. A cow tried to eat its leaves, and with the utmost care Nagmahashaya gave them to eat. He broke the cane into small pieces and made her eat the same, patting her gently. He then prostrated himself before her and, after a time, fanned her with great devotion. While fanning, he was possessed by an intense feeling of the presence of the Divine Mother in her and fell down senseless on the ground, absorbed in divine consciousness. Nagmahashaya himself was a worshipper of Shakti, yet he believed, like a true disciple of his master, that different paths lead to the same goal. Creeds or paths do not matter much. If one sincerely and devoutly follows any one of the paths, God's grace descends to him. He harbored no feeling of religious distinction and fanaticism, and evinced equal regard for the devotees of all sects, whether they be Shaivas or Vaishnavas, Bauls or Kartabhajas. He had the same respect for Hindus, Muslims, and Christians. He would bow his head down and salute reverentially whenever he happened to pass by a mosque or a tomb of a Mohammedan saint. He did the same before churches too, with the words, "Glory unto Jesus." As regards devotional practices, he used to say, "The one thing necessary is to keep one's soul wide awake constantly by means of sadhana, like the man who keeps watchful vigil underneath a fruit tree all the time. The fruition rests with him. The jiva can taste the fruit of his sadhana only if he allows it through his boundless grace. There are some again to whom is vouchsafed the saving grace of the Lord apparently without any great exertion on their part. It appears as if they have been quite asleep, and the Lord drops on them the choicest fruits of sadhana from above. When they wake up, they see themselves dowered with them to the greatest astonishment of themselves and the world. These are not to undergo the stress and toil of sadhana. Such men are known as Kripasiddhas. Until and unless the grace of God descends on man, he cannot know him. He can be realized only if he so chooses. He is verily the Kalpataru, the wish-fulfilling tree. He gives whatever is asked of him. But man should not indulge in such desires which will drag him again into the rounds of births and deaths. He must pray to the Lord to grant him unflinching devotion to his hallowed feet and the true knowledge of his self. Then only can he break through the sordid bonds of the world and attain freedom through his grace. Hankering after worldly ends must bring in its attendant evils. That man alone can transit the scourges and miseries of the world who devotes his time to the contemplation of God and communion with his devotees. About occult powers, he used to say, when a man becomes pure and truly spiritual, temptation of a subtler kind, such as some occult or miraculous power or some sudden attainment of prosperity, try to allure him continually. A pure soul has not got to reason out the truth of objects. He intuitively knows everything. For as the pure crystal catches the reflection of all objects about it, the pure mind comprehends the things of the world in their entirety. But should those power attract his attention, there is every chance of his being led away from the ideal life. If ever any doubt arose in the mind of his devotees in his presence, they had not to ask him anything on those points. Nagmahashaya himself would raise them in the course of conversation and solve them to their utmost satisfaction. He could read the nature and worth of a man on his face. His prophecies regarding many were fulfilled to the letter. He would tell his wife that such and such a man was coming to Devbhog, and so he must go to the market before the man arrived. And as a matter of fact, the person named did actually turn up.